Second oral question. Lord Alton of Liverpool.
Lords, I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name on the order papers.
My Lords, the use of child labour in the Democratic Republic of Congo remains concerning. We regularly raise the issue of child labour in DRC's artisanal cobalt mining sector, both with the DRC government and through multilateral fora such as the Human Rights Council.
Thanking the Noble Lord the Minister for that reply, will he initiate an urgent investigation into reports of children standing knee-deep with their bare skin in toxic pools mining for cobalt? Study the research of Professor Siddhartha Kara, published in Cobalt Red, and challenge the absurdity of companies relying on assurances from state-run Chinese companies in the Congo that human rights norms are met. Under the terms of the Modern Slavery Act, will he consider offences committed within supply chains making offending companies subject to company disqualifications, as with GDPR violations, and meet with me and other noble lords who are concerned about these issues to discuss kite marking and how products can be labelled in a way that demonstrates that they come from places where slave labour and child labour is being used, and so consumers can make up their own mind about whether they want to be complicit in buying such products.
I would be very happy to meet the Noble Lord, and if he could bring with him people who could help us move forward. We are a world leader in this. We passed the Modern Slavery Act. We have requirements now on companies with a turnover greater than 36 million to really define very accurately their supply chains, to make sure that these awful images that he described have no part in the supply of cobalt. The Democratic Republic of Congo has 70% of the world's cobalt. We want to make sure that it comes onto the world market in a way that is complicit with the kind of standards we require.
My Lords, can I just pick up on the last point made by the Noble Lord Alton and also from the Noble Lord the Minister? The fact is the Modern Slavery Act does provide for those companies to make a statement, but that's it. There's no other requirement, no mechanism for enforcement where there is a breach. And this is a really serious matter, not only in the DRC, but in other countries where we're importing goods made by slaves and children. So will the government act? There's been criticism about this for many years since the first debate on the Act. So will we act to make sure compliance is compulsory?
Following a public consultation, the government committed to taking forward an ambitious package of measures to strengthen the Modern Slavery Act's transparency legislation, including extending reporting requirement to public bodies with a budget of 36 million or more, mandating the specific reporting of topic statements, what they must cover, requiring organisations to publish modern slavery statement on the online registry, and introducing financial penalties for organisations who fail to publish annual statements. This requires primary legislation, but in time we want to see it on the statute book.
Means that we're reducing our cobalt reliance on dangerous and thoroughly undesirable resources to work on the Washington Agreement we've made on critical minerals, which has been agreed between the two governments, and whereby apparently if we dig up more cobalt in this country, and apparently we have some, and we use it in our motor cars or use American cobalt, we'll get a 15% subsidy on all cars sold into the American market. Could you tell us how this deal is getting on?
I'm grateful to the Noble Lord. He'll understand that my relatively new role in this means that my learning curve is steep. I'm grateful to him. I will do some research and discuss it with him when I next meet.
In September, and I saw for myself the extent of the Chinese concessions for the cobalt mining. But with regards to East DRC, in June I raised a report in the Chamber from the US State Department which singled out Rwanda's human rights record with regards to its support of the M23 group, which has, as it said, committed multiple violations of international humanitarian law and human rights abuses. There is concern that the FCDO has been silent whilst it is discussing a migration agreement with regards to Rwanda. So can the Minister allay those concerns at the dispatch box today and condemn Rwanda's human rights record in this regard?
I can absolutely reassure the Noble Lord. We regularly raise the conflict in eastern DRC with the governments of DRC, of Rwanda and the region. We judge doing this privately to have more impact. In these conversations, we urge all parties to deliver on their commitments agreed through the Nairobi and Luanda processes. This includes the withdrawal of armed groups, including M23, and the ceasing of all external support to armed groups operating in the DRC.
My Lords, I declare my interest as co-chairman of the Parliamentary Group on Modern Slavery and vice-chairman of the Human Trafficking Foundation. Could I ask the Noble Lord the Minister whether the government has looked at the way in which the Americans deal with supply chains by having hot goods which are not entitled to enter the country? If they haven't looked at it, would they do so?
I certainly will take that back, and I thank the Noble Baroness for her work in this area. It's absolutely vital that we are able to define accurately and now have complete transparency through supply chains. Cobalt is something that the previous question identified is vital for technologies that we want to see that will help lower emissions and is used in a whole variety of different daily products, and we want to make sure that the way it is mined does not use child labour, does not use slavery, and that we are requiring companies to identify and be transparent in those supply chains.
But, my Lords, may I press the Minister further on that point with regard to the specific steps that the government are now taking to identify whether cobalt-containing products imported into the UK are produced by child labour in the DRC?
We are requiring, through our modern slavery legislation and through work we're doing in a variety of multilateral fora, to make sure that international companies mining not just cobalt, but a whole range of other things, using the Kimberley process, for example, for diamonds, conflict minerals, work we're doing in country, leading on partnerships which have seen great benefit with children going into school as opposed to working in mines, with UK taxpayers' money doing that. So we are working really hard on this. We want to make sure that companies are playing their part too, and that their supply chains are transparent.
My Lord, further to the...
Sir, asserted that we are a world leader in terms of modern slavery work. That may have been the case, but could he then explain why there was such a hiatus between the departure of the last Modern Slavery Commissioner and the appointment of a new one? That new one, I believe, has not yet taken up her post. So could he explain that? And secondly, if we are to make a lead on these issues, what are we doing to make sure we are more resilient in terms of minerals such as cobalt?
On the previous point, I will write to the Noble Lord about the appointment of the new Commissioner. On the secondary point, there is, of course, a market imperative to use less of products because it is expensive to obtain and transport across the world. So there is a market mechanism, but there is also a driver that government can do through innovation, particularly in areas such as battery manufacture, to reduce both the weight of batteries and therefore the quantity of minerals such as cobalt that are being used. And the government is providing funding for innovation in a whole range of different ways.
My Lords, further to the question by the Noble Lord Purvis, I've also had the chance to visit most parts of the DRC, and I've seen for myself a scourge of child labour. The Minister mentioned that we've got to get these children out of these mines where they're being persecuted and exploited into schools and education. Can he tell us what we're doing to tilt our aid in that direction? And does he have any figures about these children going into school?
The UK's Partnership Against Child Exploitation programme, which ended in September, was a consortium of 6 partners that worked to combat the worst forms of child labour in Central African Republic, Ethiopia and the Democratic Republic of Congo. And the United Kingdom was a key supporter of that partnership. The programme delivered key achievements. 8,430 children are going back to school following a consortium intervention, and 2,583 children completed training in rights and skills because of PACE support. The Noble Lord Alton's point is absolutely right. There is still a very serious problem, but we are having some success and we want to see more of it.
My Lords, well,
this question highlights an important part of a much wider issue. Can the Noble Lord the Minister say what progress the government has made towards developing a strategic plan to ensure the supply of crucial resources in the round to enhance national security and resilience, while at the same time supporting the values which we rightly espouse?
This is a massive issue, and I thank the Noble Lord for raising it. The integrated review refresh looks at this. We've got to make sure that our economy can get what it needs to provide for our own needs and for what we benefit the rest of the world. We cannot look at the security of this nation without looking at the supply chains. Countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo have, as I say, 70% of the world's cobalt. It is a mineral that we need, but we want to be at the forefront of making sure that we have a high integrity supply chain of such minerals and that they are integrated into our whole security policy.
Question, Earl Russell.
My Lords, I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name on the order page.